Who wants to catch that right there? Okay, is that not an absolute, wait a minute, camera guy, take my picture, right there. Don't we all want to be that guy that's, you know, right there holding that beautiful fish with a beautiful big bull dolphin? We all want to be this person, okay, every time we go out there. It's an absolutely incredible fish that is underrated. Everybody thinks, well, I don't want to say everybody, I shouldn't say that, but a lot of people think dolphin are dumb because they're able to go out there and catch 20, 30, 40. And lately, some of the pictures that we're seeing on Instagram from some of these boats, it's just really been an absolute slaughter. You've got guys that are coming back to the dock with 50 dolphin. Okay, 50 dolphin. Why anybody needs 50 dolphin is a little ridiculous to me. What are the limits? Do we know? 20 inches minimum size, 10 per person. In my opinion, that minimum size should be increased and that limit should be reduced. You know, it should not be 10 per person by any means.
I think it's 60 per boat.
Yeah. And again, there are people that are just limiting out because there are a lot of dolphin out there right now. And keep in mind, I mean, if you want a fishing report, I'll give you one. Today, 1,000 feet due east of Hillsborough Inlet, all the dolphin you want. Okay, all the dolphin you want. On cut bait, live bait, some nice fish mixed in. There are not all these little peewees also. So keep that in mind. There's a lot of dolphin out there right now, and it's a great time to go dolphin fishing. 1,000 feet is going to be anywhere from 7, 8, 9 miles, depending on what inlet you're going out of. And certainly you could find them shallower, could find them deeper. And let me also mention this. If you have any questions, please try and save them for the end of the seminar. I'll stay up here for as long as possible, but if I start addressing questions, we'll be here till 2 in the morning because I'll never shut up. Okay, so, and I'm going to try and cover as much as I possibly can in a short period of time. So let's get back to the fish. In order to successfully catch big dolphin, I really think it's very important for you to understand dolphin in a way that you never have before, very, very intimately. I've done a lot of research on dolphin, not only, of course, fishing for dolphin out here for decades. I have fished for and caught many dolphin in foreign destinations from Guatemala, Costa Rica, Panama, Mexico, and the list goes on, the Bahamas, and obviously here as well. Also, I've learned a tremendous amount over the years through tagging studies, okay, and how dolphin migrate, and more recently, through a visit to the University of Miami where they are growing dolphin, okay, and hatching and breeding dolphin. And what we learned was just absolutely amazing. And I think some of the statistics and some of the facts are certainly worthy of sharing with you guys because, again, it'll give you an opportunity to understand dolphin like you never have before. Keep in mind, when I say I was at the University of Miami, I want you to understand what they're doing there with dolphin. Years ago, you know, prior to even the year 2000, they were breeding dolphin in the hopes of developing an aquaculture program, farm raising dolphin for people to eat, farm raised dolphin. 60% of all of the seafood that is sold in the United States or consumed in the United States right now is farm raised. Anybody ever hear of farm raised salmon? And farm raised tilapia? By the way, don't ever eat farm raised tilapia. Farm raised catfish, okay, farm raised shrimp, farm raised just about anything. And that is the future of all of these seafood as well, just like it is with poultry or with beef. Okay, it's all farm raised, and that's going to be the future of seafood. It really is. So they did some studies on breeding dolphin and growing them in order to market them. And they had a huge problem because they couldn't get these fish, or you know, they couldn't get these fish past that 20-pound mark because they become too aggressive. It takes too long to get that fish to be 20 pounds. You've got to feed it too much food, and it costs too much. So they decided to put the program on the back burner and target other species like cobia, grouper, flounder, and a variety of other species that are now being farm raised and sold not only across the country, but across the world. After the BP oil spill, everybody remember the BP oil spill, right? So BP and the government, they contacted the University of Miami and said, we want you to do a study on how the oil in the Gulf of Mexico has affected the pelagic fish. So decided to choose dolphin as the guinea pig. Why? Because they were masters already at breeding dolphin. So they went out, caught some wild dolphin, put them in a tank, and they breed them, and they do all sorts of studies on the dolphin embryos and on the dolphin eggs and the juveniles. They put them through all sorts of tests to see how oil affects these fish. And the truth of the matter is all of the dolphin that have been exposed to oil in the Gulf of Mexico, they consume and intake less oxygen, and they swim slower than other dolphin who have not been contaminated with oil. So in doing that, they suddenly realize, somebody comes up with a great idea, and they said, maybe we've got this all wrong with dolphin. Maybe we shouldn't grow dolphin to be 20 pounds to sell. That's too hard, it's too challenging. Maybe we should grow dolphin to be this big, right here. Okay, literally plate size, where you fillet a dolphin and you get one little fillet, because it's very easy to grow dolphin to be plate size. Or somebody else said, what if we take it even further? What if we grow dolphin to be this big, like a sardine? Okay, and instead of having sardines in a can, you now go to Publix and you buy dolphin in a can. Okay, I kid you not. Okay, this potentially is going to be happening in the future. Why? Because number one, they're very, very easy to breed. They grow incredibly fast, and here is a statistic that will blow you away. A 5-pound dolphin caught out in the wild, put in a tank at the University of Miami, in optimal conditions, obviously optimal water temperature, water clarity, fed constantly, 3 times a day, 4 times a day, they're just feeding these things. That 5-pound dolphin, 9 months later, somebody please take a guess how big that dolphin was. I hear 25 pounds, 42 pounds, how about 56? 56 pounds. So that fish grew 51 pounds in 9 months. Okay, think about that. 51 pounds in 9 months. So certainly in a year, that fish could have easily grown 60 pounds. So when you think you're going out here and you're catching a dolphin that's 25, 30 pounds, and you think that fish might be a couple of years old, you're mistaken. That fish is a few months old. Okay, it is very, very rare for a dolphin to reach its first birthday. Very, very rare to have a dolphin reach 1 year. Understand that this fish has one purpose in its entire life. It is literally out in the ocean, swimming around with one purpose: to breed. Okay, to breed. That is it. It has been put on this earth to breed. Sounds like a pretty good job. Okay, but nevertheless, okay, to breed. Understand that a bull dolphin and cow dolphin, okay, or obviously a cow dolphin, will spawn every other day and will lay upwards of 200,000 eggs every other day. So every single cow dolphin, every other day, will spawn 200,000 eggs. Of course, on an annual basis, that's 10 million, okay, give or take 10 million eggs. Of those 10 million eggs, the goal across the board is for that dolphin to replace itself with one fish. One fish. Think about this. If a dolphin lays 10 million eggs, and at the end of that cycle, there are 2 dolphin that are left over, would the entire population of dolphin double? The answer is yes. And then if that same thing happened, that entire population would double. And if it kept happening, our oceans would be chock full of mahi-mahi, which they are not, correct? Okay? So the goal of that fish is to replace itself throughout its entire life, just to produce one additional dolphin. Dolphin, we look at dolphin as a target, as a game fish, right? We all look at dolphin and go, man, what a great game fish. They're colorful, they jump, they fight hard, they're aggressive. But what we don't realize, what we don't really take a good close look at, which we need to, is to understand that dolphin is a forage fish. It's not only a game fish, but it's a forage fish. Frigate birds eat dolphin. Seagulls eat dolphin. King mackerel eat dolphin. Wahoo eat dolphin. Marlin eat dolphin. Sharks eat dolphin. Everything that swims in the ocean that eats fish eats dolphin, including dolphin, okay? Including dolphin. So you've got these juveniles that are being pursued and attacked and eaten from every direction, including, of course, themselves. Understand that these dolphin, when they are born, okay, as I mentioned, females breed every 2 days. They lay upwards of 200,000 eggs. The eggs are scooped out, and in one day, the first day of their lives, the dolphin are feeding and eating and growing off their own embryo, okay, on day 1. By day 2, they are fully developed, and they're now already predators. They're eating, okay? By day 2, they're eating. And they're eating food not on sight, not on smell, but on movement. Literally from day 2, anything in the water that moves, a dolphin will eat. They have to. There are so many dolphin. Think about it. Think about what one school of dolphin, how many eggs that one school of dolphin can lay. Okay, it's absolutely incredible. So they have to eat to survive because they know that their only goal is to reach maturity to breed, to replace themselves. But 1 out of 10 million make it. Okay, think about that. 1 out of 10 million. Okay, that's a lucky dolphin, isn't it? That nothing ate it, you know, when 9 million plus other ones didn't make it. It is an absolutely incredible, incredible fish that grows so fast, and all it does is eat from morning to night because it exerts so much energy, so much fuel, because it is constantly on the move. Dolphin do not just sit in one spot, right? I mean, they don't. They travel upwards of hundreds of miles every day. Every day. Think about our current out here in the Gulf Stream. It's moving to 3 to 5 knots. We'll use an average and say 4 knots. If I took a balloon, blew it up, threw it into water, 24 hours later, where would that balloon be? Somebody do the math real quick. 24 hours times 4 miles, it would be approximately 100 miles away, right? In one day, just from the current out here. Now put a tail and a rudder and a propeller for, you know, in a machine, a fish that moves, and imagine how far that fish can move. Because we all know dolphin can easily swim in bursts of 30 plus miles an hour. And they can maintain easily 5 to 10 miles an hour without ever stopping, ever. They will travel all the way up the East Coast, all the way up off New England, around the Sargassum Sea, way out into the Atlantic, then make a sharp right turn and come all the way back down, okay, down to the islands, Puerto Rico, etc., and then come back up. It's a giant loop out here in the Atlantic, a big, big loop, and that is the dolphin migratory pattern. Fish have been recorded to swim in their lives from the time they were tagged until the time they were recaptured, literally thousands of miles, thousands of miles. However, along that journey, they're again being harassed and attacked by everything, every seabird, every creature in the ocean that's alive, at all of their different stages, because today they're microscopic. In a week, it's a bait fish. In a month, it's really a bait fish, right? Something that marlin and sharks, you know, and by the way, the most pressure that dolphins see are from mako sharks. You know, a mako shark's primary diet is made up of dolphin fish. They absolutely love dolphin. And before I move on, you know, I touched on tagging, which I think is really important and something that I want to mention to you guys as well, because the more tagged fish that are out there that are caught, the easier it is for us as a whole, to monitor these migratory patterns, to see the health of the fishery. If you're unfamiliar with dolphin tagging, it's a free service. Okay, there is an organization out there, a dolphin tagging study program. Okay, it's called Cooperative Science Services, and you contact them right through their website, and they will send you tags for free, a little packet with a bunch of little tags. And they'll send you a little tagging tool, just a little spindle, so to speak, with a little point. And on the bottom of each tag, on the bottom of each card, is a little tag. Right there, you can, little plastic tag. And on that little plastic tag is a number that corresponds with the number on the card. So you catch a juvenile dolphin, you carefully handle that fish with a wet towel. Okay, you don't want to wipe the slime off that juvenile dolphin, or else obviously it's going to end up dying. So you handle it very carefully. You insert a tag right into its back. You fill out the card, where you caught it, angler's name, estimated size of the fish, estimated length, etc. It already comes with stamps, and you drop it in the mail. That's simple. Okay, that's simple. And when you're out there, you know, we all know there's a lot of schoolies. There's a lot of small dolphin that we call like chickens or peanuts, right? Anybody ever get into a whole school of peanuts? You know, we all have. What great fish to tag. And keep in mind, the number of recovered tags is very, very small compared to the amount of tagged fish that are out there. Why? Because they're all being eaten. Okay, they're being eaten by marlin and by birds and by all sorts of other predators. But every now and then somebody catches one. May it be a commercial fisherman or a recreational fisherman. And the information, if you do catch a tagged fish, again, there's a phone number right on the tag. You call it, you give them the number, estimated size, weight, location, was there weed present when you caught that fish? A couple other minor questions, and then you get all of that information back, and you also get recognized for catching a tagged fish. So again, it's something that's very important for all of our fisheries, but certainly for dolphin as well. So I encourage you to get into that program, okay, into the dolphin tagging program. So again, you've got this fish that's out here traveling thousands of miles, very fast. You know, we talked about it earlier. I said today the hot bite was out here in 1,000 feet. Tomorrow, those fish are not going to be right there. There may be other fish there because they're all moving up the line, but those fish are not going to be there. They could be north, they could be south, we don't know. Dolphin typically, not typically, they migrate in a northerly pattern. They're going up the coast, but certainly they will swim south depending on water temperature, water clarity, and the abundance of food. Okay, the abundance of food, because again, in order for them to breed and in order for them to do what they've been put on this earth to do, they need energy, they need fuel. And that comes in the way of flying fish, that comes in the way of ballyhoo, squid, crabs, shrimp, other dolphin. Dolphin will eat goggle eyes, speedos, pilchards, threadfin herring, pinfish, rudderfish, jacks. There is nothing that swims in the ocean that a dolphin will not eat, as long as it moves. How about turtles, baby turtles? Okay, dolphin have been cut open and, you know, gutted and found 25 little turtles inside of them. They will eat anything as long as it moves. And that's again, it's in their DNA from day 2. You know, from day 2, if it moves, they eat it. And the cool thing about that is dolphin are not really, again, they're not really picky eaters. The biggest problem that we have with catching big dolphin is not getting a big dolphin to eat. What's the biggest problem? What's that? Finding them. That's right. Finding a big dolphin is the biggest problem. It's not getting them to eat. Okay, it really isn't. And then once you do get them to eat, landing a big dolphin is a whole other issue. And we're going to talk about both of those. So now that you've got a little bit of a better understanding of what a brilliant predator this really is and what they're capable of, you know, and their ability to swim thousands of miles. And keep in mind, not only will they hunt right up on the surface, they will dive down to 800 feet and they'll feed down 800 feet. Okay, they will go wherever the ideal conditions are and wherever the food is. If there is no food there, the dolphin is not staying. Okay, he's not hanging out waiting for food to show up. He's on a hunt. He's out there looking for it. Okay, it's in his DNA, it's in his blood, and that's what he does. Okay, he's just a primary predator, while at the same time avoiding being eaten. Okay, because it's a fish eat fish world out there. Okay, so he's trying to survive, he's trying to feed, but at the same token, he's trying not to get eaten himself or get caught by one of you guys. Okay. Well, I hope you catch them. Okay. So understand again what an awesome fish it is. His coloration. A lot of people believe, dolphin have these unbelievable color patterns and they can change like a chameleon. Okay, they have counter shading. You ever see, dolphin are not green. They're only green when they lose their color. Okay, in the water, what color are they? Blue. Okay, they're blue in the water. It's fascinating, isn't it? They're absolutely beautiful. They blend into their environment. Any prey that's above, because remember, dolphins' eyes are up on the top of their head there. They're generally feeding looking up. It's not a bottom feeder, okay? So by being blue, any fish above them can't even see them. They literally disappear into the depths. So it's just a fascinating fish. Plus, all of their gold spots and the yellow is designed to help that fish camouflage into the weed, into the sargassum weed. So even when they're juveniles, they're green and gold. Okay, a lot of gold, even some tones of brown. Okay, they're really more of that brownish, greenish, or goldish. And they blend right into that sargassum weed. It helps them feed in the weed, and it also helps them avoid being eaten. Okay, dolphin will go into a weed line, literally right into a weed line, and shake the grass, okay, to dislodge any of the shrimp or the critters that are in the grass. If you've never done this, I certainly encourage you to. When you're offshore and you come across a big weed line, reach your hand off, the side of the boat, grab a whole bunch of big healthy grass and shake it on the deck of your boat, and look at all of that life that comes out of that grass. All of those little shrimp and the crabs. Okay, there's so much life. Grass is life. Okay, and they know that, so they rely on the sargassum. For us, we have Publix. Dolphin have sargassum. That's really what it boils down to. And certainly, we know that dolphin are attracted to floating debris, right? No matter what it is that's floating out there, they're attracted to it. Not because it's a cozy little place to hang out for a while, because anything out in the wide open is going to attract bait. It's going to attract food. So typically, that's of course where you're likely going to see the dolphin. So again, absolutely awesome fish, brilliant predator, unbelievably capable, okay? A great predator that will eat anything that it can catch. And what's fascinating, I'm one of those guys, when I fillet a fish, I open up its guts, and I'm inspecting every little thing that's in there, and I'm fascinated by what fish eat and how they eat it. And I've cut open dolphin that I've had flying fish this big, and right next to that flying fish is a tiny little juvenile puffer that's barely the size of your pinky nail, right? So you've got this fish that can eat not only an assortment of prey, but in sizes, an assortment of sizes of prey. Over in the Pacific, Costa Rica, Guatemala, Panama, okay, Mexico, we catch, I don't want to say we catch obviously, but they catch a lot of big dolphin every day on big bonitas, 5-pound bonita, okay, a 5-pound bonita. Would you go out here and troll a 5-pound bonita for dolphin? Okay, we're not going to. You know why we're not going to? Because not every fish out here is 30 to 50 pounds, right? If it was, then that's what we would use. But they're not. We go out here and we want to catch fish, first and foremost. Okay, we're not that picky. We want to go catch fish. After we've got some dolphin in the box, yeah, I'd love to catch a bigger one and all that stuff. But you're certainly not going to take an 8-pound dolphin and go, forget it, forget this, too small, okay, and let them go. Anybody let 8-pound dolphin go?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, let them go in the box.
Yeah, let them go in the box, right? So again, the point I'm making is that big baits, are certainly a great idea, but not necessary out here, even though these big dolphin can eat a ginormous bait, a really big bait. I've watched it. It's just absolutely incredible. And I'm going to tell you just a quick little fish story, and then we'll move on here. This is a story of fishing in Panama at a place called Hannibal Bank. Anybody ever visited Hannibal Bank? It's about 50 miles off the coast of Panama. Big marlin, big yellowfin tuna, and big dolphin. My wife, my daughter are on the boat on a trip there doing a little bit of research, okay? And we're out there, we get to the area, we set our spread after a 50-mile run, and in 5 minutes, the biggest dolphin I've ever seen in my entire life just clobbers one of these big giant marlin lures. Okay, I estimated the fish at no less than 75 pounds. My daughter, I said, get in the chair. You're gonna fight this fish. That was very hard for me to do, by the way. But I said, get in the chair, you're gonna fight this fish. It's gonna be the fish of a lifetime for you. And she did, like a champ. And she got it right up next to the boat, and the guy, one of the crew members who didn't speak English, had a little hand gaff in his hand. And I looked at the guy. What are you doing? What are you doing? I said, where's the gaff? I said, this is it. This is all I got. Okay, that's what I gathered out of his blah, 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 blah. I'm like, are you kidding me? We're hooked up to a 75-pound dolphin. The head of this thing was like this wide. It's right there, and you've got a hand gaff. And I can already see where this is going. I look at my daughter, I said, Rachel, don't look, okay? So she's fighting this thing, we get it right up next to the boat. The captain comes down, he grabs the leader of the lure, and he lifts the fish up out of the water. So now I've got one crew member he's absolutely frozen. He's in shock. I don't think he's ever seen a dolphin this big, and he's got a hand gaff in his hand with a tiny little hook. And I got a captain who's holding a 75-pound dolphin halfway out of the water on the leader, and the fish is just going like this. Okay? Needless to say, shook off, swam away, and that was the end of that 75-pound dolphin. Yeah. Point I'm making, that was a fish of a lifetime that they were not prepared for. And because they were not prepared, we lost that fish. Okay, and did not have an opportunity to catch that fish. That's a very, very important point there and here locally. You're not going to get a shot, probably ever, at a 75-pound dolphin. That's first and foremost. But you will certainly get a shot out here at 30 to 50-pound dolphin. Happens every day, certainly this time of the year. When you get that opportunity at a 30 to 50-pound dolphin, certainly on that higher class, the 40 to 50-pound dolphin, if you are not 100% prepared to catch that fish, battle that fish properly, and land that fish, what's going to happen? You are going to lose that fish. You know, anybody ever lose a 50-pound dolphin? How do you know? How do you know? Okay, how do you guys know? There's only one guy raising his hand. Everybody who's not raising your hand, how do you know you've never lost a 50-pound dolphin?
He was on the same boat you were.
Right? Okay. That absolutely could have very well happened, right? The fish comes up, smacks the lure, your drag set too tight, zing pow. Okay, that ever happened to anybody? The good old faithful zing pow. Okay, your drag's too tight, whatever, happens all of the time. Okay, maybe a pulled hook, a busted leader, a broke knot, something. Something failed and you ended up losing a quality fish that you never even knew that you had on. Okay, it happens, I'm telling you. That is why that's one of the reasons we don't see so many 40 and 50-pound dolphin. Not that there are a lot, because there are not. Because remember, only 1 in 10 million, not even 1 in 10 million make it that size. Only 1 in 10 million survive. Okay? The number of that make it to 50 pounds is very, very small. Very, very small. For, it's probably 1 in 500 million, truthfully, that make it to that size. So, you got to be ready for these fish. There's no question. Because there are not a lot of 50-pound dolphin out there, okay, we've got to cover a lot of ground to find them, right? That's the biggest challenge. Getting them to eat is not that big of a challenge. If you see a dolphin next to the boat and you throw a bait to it, unless that school of dolphin has been absolutely pounded by 10 other boats in that same day, they're going to eat, right? They're going to eat. Eventually, they'll turn off, but they're going to eat as long as they haven't been pounded. And they'll eat anything you put in the water, pretty much. Cut baits, we've caught them on an apple, okay, literally, on an apple. Took a piece of an apple, said, I wonder if that thing will eat that, and caught them on apples. So they'll eat anything, okay? But again, there's not a lot of those big dolphin out there, so we have to find them. And even though you can catch dolphin a lot of different ways, you can catch dolphin, big dolphin, kite fishing, right? We always catch I would say always, but big dolphin are always caught kite fishing. It's very, very common. You can catch big dolphin drifting and fishing bait, either live bait or cut bait. But the most popular method of targeting and catching big dolphin is trolling. Okay, trolling for two reasons. One, we're able to cover a lot of ground. Okay, if I'm trolling at 6 knots, just as an example, okay, in a 6-hour period, I've covered 36 miles of water, 36 miles. If you really want to look for a big dolphin, don't troll at 6 knots, troll at 10 knots, because you've just increased the amount of coverage substantially. Okay, substantially, but of course you've got to be ready for that with your spread and your baits, and we'll talk about that too. So trolling is the most popular means of finding and catching big dolphin. Once you find them, then it becomes a little bit easier because often you can chunk and keep those fish around. The largest dolphin are either bulls or cows. Which is it? Bulls. Understand that a bull dolphin is very, very dominant. Very dominant. He will kill all of the other bull dolphin just so he can have his harem of cows. Okay, that is why when you're offshore and you catch big dolphin, rarely will you catch 2 big bulls together. You'll catch big cows. Okay, you'll catch a lot of the big cows because that one dolphin may have a dozen to 15 cows, female dolphin, in his harem. Okay, that's how it works out there. Now, if you do catch 2 big bulls, it's not because they were swimming together. It's not because they had their own little pack of girlfriends. They had 2 different packs. They just happened to be commingling in that same area because there's likely an abundance of forage there on that particular time. But generally, you are only going to catch 1 big bull with all of the other cows. And we know this, right? You know, we're always looking for that. When you catch that cow, you're like, man, where's that bull? Or if you catch a bull, it's often with a cow. You know, it happens. In captivity, they tried this, and it's fascinating. They put multiple bulls in a tank with multiple cows, and every single time, the dominant bull killed all of the other bulls. Literally smashed right into them, pulled the food away from them, wouldn't let them eat until they starved to death or were just hurt to the point where they were killed, but never touched the cows. Well, he did touch the cows, but in a different way. Okay? That's, you know, it's almost like, I guess, a lion pack where you have a dominant lion, so to speak, but even more so, because here again, you don't even have other males. You know, it's just that one big bull. And understand, we're not talking about 8 to 10 pound fish. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about schoolies where you go out here and you come up on a weed line and there's a whole bunch of, you know, nice sized dolphin around, gaffers. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about the big ones, the slammers, you know, the fish of a lifetime, the one that you've been looking for forever. You know, you've been down here fishing for 10 years, 20 years, however long, and you're still looking for that one 50-pound dolphin. How many people have caught a 50-pound dolphin? Okay. Out of all of these people, I'd say the 50s were probably 36 or 37 pounds. By the time you got to the dock, they were 45 pounds. By the time you're here, they were 50 pounds. Okay, so not a lot of those really, really big fish, and that's really what we're after. Okay, so you've got to make that commitment, and you have to understand that it is very unlikely, not likely, very unlikely that you are going to hook a big giant dolphin when you go out there tomorrow. I know a few people are going dolphin fishing tomorrow. I know somebody he is. Okay, chances of you hooking a 50-pounder are pretty damn slim, but it may happen. Okay, it absolutely may happen, and you need to be ready for that. But I point that out because we also want to catch whatever we hook, right? If they're 8-pound fish, 10-pound fish, 12-pound fish. So I know you guys don't see it from there, but you guys over here, if you look on the counter here, there's an 80-wide reel on a giant stand. Somebody hold that up for me, please. Be careful, little guy. It's heavier than you are. Okay, all right. Big hand for you, okay? Point I'm making is, you know, that's the type of tackle that if you're going to go out there and target really big dolphin, you know, consistently, a lot of guys fish 50s and 80s, you know, really big gear. We don't do that out here. We don't do that. You know, I'm fishing, my typical trolling rod is a 20-pound outfit. It's It's a 20-pound outfit because I know the chances of me hooking that big fish are really slim. When I'm kite fishing, it's a 20-pound outfit. I'm fishing the same rod when I'm kite fishing or for some, light duty trolling. But I also realize that at any moment, on any trip, at any time, when I'm out there trolling, I could be surprised and have that shot at that big trophy dolphin that I've been waiting for a very long time. And if I'm not ready for that one fish, I'm going to lose. Okay, I am absolutely going to lose. So I make sure whenever I'm out there trolling, regardless if it's with a 20-pound outfit, or sometimes we'll bump it up a little bit if we're pulling some larger baits to a 30-pound class outfit. Okay, just a shorter stand-up rod, obviously a chaos rod, and you're never going to catch a 50-pound dolphin if you don't fish chaos rods. That's number one. Okay, we're fishing Maxell reels, diamond presentation. This is called Orange Crush. It's just a high-vis line. It allows us to track our lures behind the boat, our spread. We're using the same Orange Crush line, again, from Diamond Fishing Products for kite fishing. But you can see there's a top shot. There's a clear leader on top of it. Okay, maybe 20 feet, 25 feet of clear line. So I could still see my lines behind the boat, but the fish can't see my line. Okay, so I always have that clear top shot on top of it. But getting back to it, again, 30-pound outfit, 20-pound outfit, that's it. I am never out front here trolling with anything heavier than 30-pound gear. Ever. The only time we're ever going to troll anything heavier than 30-pound gear is if, for example, we're pulling planers or we're pulling a deep diving plug on maybe 50-pound braid, okay? But that's really the rarity. Otherwise, it's always going to be 20 and 30-pound monofilament. But it's imperative that your tackle is ready for that 40 or 50-pound fish. It's imperative that you're ready for that 40 and 50-pound fish. So every time you go dolphin fishing, when you rig your tackle, I want you to think to yourself that today is my day. Today is my day where I'm going to have that shot and I'm going to be ready. I'm going to make sure that the line on my reel is fresh and not abraded. Anybody ever run your fingers on the line on your reel and it's all abraded and it feels like sandpaper and you go, oh, don't worry, I'll fix it tomorrow. Or I'll re-spool tomorrow, or I'm going to get by this time without, replacing that top shot. And then you hook that 40, 50-pound dolphin, and that's the fish you lost, and you're going, I never lost one that big, okay? That's what's going to happen. They get you right when you least expect it. So make sure every one of your connections is perfect. Make sure your leader material, your line is perfect. Like I said, we're fishing 20 and 30-pound. You don't need anything heavier than that. You're not anchored. Okay, you're not anchored. What does that mean? That means a boat can move, right? So you've got 400 yards of line. Dolphin are notorious for swimming that way, not that way. They're not going to swim. I don't care if you're out in the middle of the Gulf Stream in 2,000 feet of water. If you hook a 50-pound dolphin, he's not swimming to the bottom. That's not what dolphin do. He's going to swim out, okay, to try and escape. Well, because you're in a moving boat, you can follow that fish, can you not? So you never need more than 300 to 400 yards of line, ever. I don't care how big that dolphin is, okay? You can chase them around all that you want. So again, you don't need that super heavy duty tackle. You're going to be fighting the tackle, and for that one 40 to 50-pound fish, that's going to come along once a decade, okay, or once every few years, you still want to enjoy all of those other fish that you catch, which predominantly make up our dolphin out here, fish in the 5 to 20-pound range. Wouldn't you not all agree that 99% of the dolphin we catch out here are 5 to 20 pounds? Okay? Certainly a lot of smaller ones, right? Some little babies, little peanuts, and of course some bigger ones, but 99% of them are 5 to 20 pounds. So fish that tackle for the 5 to 20-pound fish, but make sure that your rigging techniques and that your knots are perfect. And don't think, if you thought that you were going to come here tonight and I was going to stand up here and I was going to say, you want to know the secret to catching 50-pound dolphin? And if you thought I was going to give you one little secret magic trick and you walked out here and went, I got it, I got this now, you were sadly mistaken. Because there is no secret to catching 50-pound dolphin, or we would all be doing it every single day. Okay, there's no secret to it. It's a combination of different factors that have to come together. Okay, there's no secret sauce. Guys have been down here dolphin fishing for decades. Okay, and everywhere. Dolphin is one of those fish, you can catch them off Jacksonville, you can catch them off Clearwater, off everywhere, right? All the way up and down the coast, obviously around the Keys, way out in the Gulf of Mexico, off the Panhandle. You don't associate dolphin, a lot of people don't associate dolphin with the Gulf Coast, because when you think about Tampa and Fort Myers and Sanibel and all of those areas on the West Coast, Charlotte Harbor, etc., you're thinking snook and redfish and snapper and grouper. But the dolphin fishery way offshore in the Gulf, out in the loop current, is phenomenal. There's a ton of big dolphin out there. You just have to travel 100 miles off the beach to catch them. Okay? Whereas here, you only have to travel 1 mile off the beach. Because the cool thing about big dolphin is there are big dolphin that are caught 1 mile off the beach in 100 feet of water. There are big dolphin that are caught in 500 feet of water. There are big dolphin that are caught in 1,000 feet of water, 1,500, 2,000. In other words, anywhere. They could pop up, a 50-pound dolphin could pop up anywhere, anywhere. So you don't know where that fish is going to be. You know, certainly it is likely he's going to be in an area that has the ideal conditions that it's looking for. When we're out here trolling for king mackerel close to the beach and that water is green, what we call kingfish green, you guys know what I'm talking about? Okay, that dirty, nasty water that's green. Okay, rarely are you going to see dolphin in that water. And you're certainly not going to see a big dolphin in that water. The fish are too smart. That's not its ideal surroundings. Okay, he doesn't need to struggle. He's going to find clean blue water. And that is absolutely what you have to have. You've got to have clean blue water. Okay, the cleaner that water is, and you guys know exactly what I'm talking about when you go out here and, you know, your first couple of miles, the water is nasty, and then suddenly you get that color change and it looks like you're in the Caribbean. That's where dolphin are going to be, in that Caribbean blue water. Okay, that Caribbean blue water is way offshore, but we get eddies and we get, you know, spin-offs from the Gulf Stream, gyres and eddies that spin off and meander their way closer to shore. Okay, and those spin-offs, those gyres and eddies, they contain temperature breaks and chlorophyll and often grass and sometimes floating debris, and those eddies can be huge, and sometimes the west side of that eddy pushes close to the beach. Oftentimes a mile or two off the beach, there could be the west side of an eddy. Okay, so it's not uncommon to find dolphin close to the beach, but it's because they're in that ideal conditions. You know, they're in that ideal water clarity, water temperature, and even though they have a high tolerance, the ideal water temperature for dolphin is really high 70s to low 80s. It's a tropical type of game fish. Okay, but you'll catch them in the winter here when the water is colder. You can catch, that's another thing. Not only can you catch dolphin from 100 feet to 2,100 feet, but you can catch them 365 days a year. 365 days a year. You'll catch them all year round. Certainly everybody associates the summertime with dolphin fishing, right? Do you know why? Okay, what's that? Flat seas, which means that there are 90% more of you out there dolphin fishing than in the middle of January when you're all home. You know, I don't want to say you're all home, but the guys in the 21-foot boats and 24-foot boats and 3 to 5 foot seas, and you're just not out there. So in the summertime, you have so much more activity out on the water, so many more people fishing out on the water. Additionally, in the summertime, we predominantly get southeast winds, and the southeast winds stack the weed lines. They compact the weed lines and they push them closer to our coast. So it sets the stage, okay, for ideal dolphin fishing. But those fish are not gone in January or February. They didn't disappear. Okay, there are still dolphin everywhere. Okay, because again, they've got to grow, they've got to swim, they have to multiply, they have to breed, and they have to eat. So big dolphin are caught year round, but certainly you see most of the big dolphin this time of the year because of those reasons. There are so many people fishing. And you know, today we've got this wonderful thing called Instagram, okay? Instagram. Instagram is a fake world, by the way. It's not a real world. It's not, okay? Instagram's a fake world. You only see the best boats, the biggest fish, the smallest bikinis, the nicest trucks, all of these different things is the only thing you see on Instagram, okay? You don't see, when you see a guy holding up, you know, a big dolphin, you don't see the other 99 boats who didn't catch him. They're not on Instagram going, hey, I didn't catch anything today. I didn't catch anything for the 7th time in a row, okay? But I wanted to just let the world know, okay? You don't see that. Come on, you guys know you don't see that. You only see the good. Okay, you only see the good. So don't get sucked into social networks and think that the whole world is catching these giant fish all of the time except for you. Okay, because that's not true by any means. Okay, everybody has their good days and everybody has their challenges. So be careful there. So getting back to it on the trolling side. So when you're out there and you're looking for dolphin, like I said, you want to cover ground. And you want to look for those key indicators that are going to say there could potentially be big dolphin in this area. If there's bait, that's absolutely a key. We all know to look for bait when we're dolphin fishing, right? We look for flying fish. We all see flying fish. There's lots of different species of flying fish. Sometimes you see these little ones that just scoot right across the surface, and other times you see big flying fish that seem to fly for 100 yards. You know, they're amazing. You see, you know, other forms of bait. When you come up on weed lines, you'll see all sorts of jacks and bar jacks and rudder fish and a whole variety of different life of live bait. If you don't see anything alive along that weed line that you're trolling, guess what? You shouldn't be trolling that weed line, okay? Because not all grass is created equal. A lot of you know that, okay? And in turn, you want to fish that nice, vibrant grass that is very lively, okay, and has a lot of life, and it's green and gold and floating. If it's nasty and gnarly and it looks like somebody cut it out of their backyard and threw it in a canal and it floated out there, that isn't where there's going to be big dolphin. Okay, so certainly look for those key indicators. The bait, the weed lines obviously are certainly key. Birds, we all know that, frigate birds, but not only frigate birds. Everybody gets so excited about frigate birds. And it is exciting because when you see a frigate bird, everybody know what a frigate bird is, right? When you see a frigate bird, you're like, wow, there has to be dolphin here. Understand a frigate bird's nature. A frigate bird can never get wet. That's first and foremost. He can never get wet. They will fly for literally months without ever landing. Okay, for months without ever landing. He will fly high in the sky. He's the best fisherman there is out there. He has phenomenal eyesight, and he is peering into the depths. And his only goal is to wait for dolphin or other sorts of game fish to push the bait up toward the surface, primarily the flying fish. So when the flying fish come out of the water to scoot away, he swoops down and snatches the flying fish right in his, you know, bill right there. He can't get wet, okay? So the higher that frigate bird is above the water, the deeper the activity is that he is staring at. If it's a pot of bait, if it's a school of cruising dolphin, could be a billfish, could be tuna, makes no difference to the frigate bird what's down there as long as it pushes the bait up and he can swoop down and eat it. Okay, usually it's dolphin because, of course, out here, offshore in our area, what is the predominant game fish? Dolphin. Okay, so we associate those frigate birds with dolphin. When you see those frigate birds low to the water, low, like, 5 feet off the water, it's on, baby. It's on, because they're right there. The fish are right below them, right below them. And the first thing that you're going to do is go, we're going right there. We're going right there. Okay, and you're going to point your bow right there, and you're going, everybody get ready. Everybody get ready. Okay, and you're aiming right there. Am I right? Tell me I'm not right. Okay, I'm right. You're all excited, you're fired up, you see these frigate birds, you aim right for them. You don't stop and think, maybe I should slow down for 1 second and think about what the hell it is I'm doing here. Because if I go right toward the birds, the fish are right below them, what am I going to do? I'm going to blow the fish out, right? Dolphin and even other game fish are spooked by boats. Believe it or not, they don't just look up and go, oh, there's Mike's 39 CV, I'm going to hang out. Okay? No, they obviously can be spooked. So you've got to really plan your approach appropriately if you want any chance of hooking those fish, especially if there's any big fish there. Remember, that big dolphin didn't get big by being dumb. He beat out 10 million of his buddies. That's a damn good swimmer. If you beat out 10 million of your buddies, you're special, right? You're special. Something about you, something about all of us. We beat out all of those other swimmers. You guys follow me, right? There's something special about us, okay? There really is. We did it. We made it. Same with the fish, okay? So they're not that dumb. They do have to eat, and, obviously they're predators, so they react, but they could also be spooked, okay? They could also be spooked. So when you see that sort of activity offshore, may it be frigate birds, maybe it's something else floating, some type of floating debris, okay? Strategize before you just point your bow right toward it and just steam, and troll right across whatever it is that you see. May it be the birds or something floating, do a pattern around it, circle around it. Dolphin, remember what I said, they feed by movement. Anything that moves attracts their attention, and they have phenomenal eyesight and also phenomenal hearing too, okay, and phenomenal senses all across the board. But they can pick up on movement. So if you're trolling 50 feet away, anybody ever see a dolphin come racing across the, you know what I'm saying? Just come flying across and grab a lure right behind the boat? Isn't that so sick? That's so exciting when you see that, right? It's because he heard it and saw it from way over there. It's not like a redfish on a flat in 6 inches of water where he can't see what's going on, 100 feet away. Out there, that dolphin can see that. So don't think that you need to be right on top of that debris or whatever it is, or directly under those birds, okay? You want to strategize and approach that cautiously to where your baits are going to be presented within the sight of those fish, but it doesn't generally have to be right on top of them, okay? Not only frigates, all of the other birds that are out there, there's these little terns, these little birds that we call tuna chicks. They're really small. Okay, there's seagulls, there's all sorts of birds out there, and they're all great indicators of life, of bait, because they too need to eat. If the birds are just flying like they're on a mission, we're going to Mexico, wherever it is they're migrating to, or whatever it is that they're doing. If they're just flying, don't waste your time. They're not indicating that there is life around. But certainly if they're swooping and screaming and flying in circles and diving, clearly that's the fundamentals of offshore fishing. I don't need to tell you that's a neon sign saying there are fish here. Okay, I don't know if they're dolphin, but there are fish here. So certainly worthy of investigating. On the trolling side, when you are trolling, if you are specifically targeting these big dolphin, like they do in some of these foreign countries, they fish a lot of big lures, a lot of big lures, stuff that you would look at and go, there's no way in the world a dolphin would eat that. A 20-pound dolphin will eat a 5-pound dolphin. Think about that. A 20-pound dolphin will eat a 5-pound dolphin. How he even catches that thing and fits it in his mouth is unbelievable. But they do. They have that ability to do that. They can eat large prey. So again, you can go out there and fish these really large lures and really large baits, but what are you going to miss out on? An opportunity on all of those 5 to 20-pound fish, because you're fishing a spread for blue marlin when you should be fishing a spread for schoolie dolphin. Knowing that somewhere in that effort, somewhere along the line, you're going to have your shot at the bigger fish, even with the smaller baits. So what I recommend when you're trolling, what we always do, there's a couple of really key factors when it comes to trolling offshore here for dolphin, knowing that you potentially could hook a bigger fish, but you're also after the numbers. It's always, quality is nice, quantity is also nice, isn't it? And it's finding that balance between quantity and quality. So we always fish a couple of bigger baits, but not these giant lures, okay? Not these giant plunger type 16-inch, $189 Black Bart super special breakfast lure that you don't even know, where they came up with these names for these things. But some ballyhoo and islander combos. Everybody familiar with that? It's no secret, right? Fresh ballyhoo with an islander over the ballyhoo. And of the people, before I asked who has caught a 50-pound dolphin, can you raise your hand again, please? Okay. What did you catch it on? Okay, what'd you catch it on? Blue and white Islander over a ballyhoo. What'd you catch it on? Blue and white Islander over a ballyhoo. What did you catch it on?
On a planer rig.
On a planer rig with a strip bait or with a strip bait? Anybody else? A piece of bacon? Oh, pink skirt. I'm like, bacon? I should try that. I love bacon. All right.
Who doesn't love bacon?
A vertical jig, deep drive jig,
Okay, vertical jig, 50-pound dolphin ate it.
and a chunk of ballyhoo too.
So you had a chunk of ballyhoo on the hook on your jig.
Both. Ate one hook, a piece of ballyhoo, and the jig. We had them on 2 lines.
Okay.
Let's put that down.
Right, okay. Point I'm making, you didn't catch this 50-pound fish on this giant lure or giant bait, right? You caught it on what typically you would be fishing. You know, it just so happened that that was a larger fish that ate that. So I highly suggest that you keep your spread the same. Go after the quantity, but be ready for that quality. Make sure that your rigs, as I mentioned earlier, are rigged properly. Make sure that you're not fishing these garbage hooks. When you rig ballyhoo, there are some really garbage products out there, you know, blue light special Kmart kind of stuff. No, no. Okay, these giant game, these brilliant, strong game fish will make short work out of anything that is not, you know, really at the top of the game. So use quality products. If you're rigging your own baits, use quality hooks, VMC hooks, or else you won't catch a 50-pound dolphin. Okay, if you're going to buy rigged dolphin, if you're going to buy rigged ballyhoo, certainly not a bad idea. If you don't have the tools yourself, if you don't have the gear, the leader material, the crimps, the hooks, or the knowledge to rig your own ballyhoo, there's nothing the matter with buying prepackaged, fresh ballyhoo. Okay, even though it's frozen, I'm going to tell you that it is as close to fresh as could be. All of these ballyhoo that you buy are netted down in the keys. They're caught today. Okay, they're put in a brine. And overnight, they are trucked up here to Pompano, to Bionic Bait, right off of Atlantic down there, okay? And tomorrow morning, they will be rigged and blast frozen. So literally within 24 hours, that fish is caught, rigged, and frozen, okay? You couldn't do that yourself probably, especially when you're doing tens of thousands of them. So, you know, it's not a bad idea if you can't do it yourself. It's probably a better idea to buy rigged baits. But be careful, because there are some different brands of rigged baits out there floating around. Bionic Bait and Bait Masters are both excellent, okay, reliable and excellent. There's another company out there, and I'm not going to mention a name because I think it would be unjust to bash them in front of everybody, but it's not Bionic Bait and it is not Bait Masters. Just remember that. And I've heard horror stories of people hooking fish and losing fish after fish after fish on the same bait, you know, over and over. They're losing fish, only to come to realize that when they rigged the baits, whoever was rigging the bait never ran the leader through the hook, through the eye of the hook. So the hooks are in the bait, but the hooks aren't connected. Okay, the bait's wrapped with the copper rigging wire, so you'd get a bite and gone. And they're like, what the hell? And eventually they realized what the problem was. Okay, so be careful there. Also, when you're buying frozen bait, look at the packages. If there's any liquid, any off-colored liquid in the bottom of the package, you know, that may not be the package that you want to grab. You know, I saw somebody before buying ballyhoo out of that cooler and inspecting all of the ballyhoo, hand-picking the ones that they were buying. That's what you should do. You should hand pick your baits, okay? You should look at them all and only select the ones, you know, that really look the freshest, have nice clear eyes, okay? Because of course, it's not only about how that bait looks to the fish, but what's even equally as important is when you're trolling, what happens to ballyhoo? They wash out. Okay, after, you know, depending on the bait itself, the speed, the water temperature, if it's covered with something, you know, maybe an Islander or a skirt or a different lure, that bait could often wash out in an hour or less, sometimes even less if it wasn't properly, you know, handled. So a nice fresh bait is going to certainly last longer when you're trolling, okay? So in your trolling spread, rig ballyhoo, come on, it's a must. If you're out there trolling for dolphin, if you don't have rigged ballyhoo in your trolling spread, you're missing the boat. you at least have to have a couple of rig ballyhoo. May it be rig ballyhoo with islanders off your outriggers, something, you know, you've got to have some rig ballyhoo. Small lures, feathers, jets, okay, 4 or 5 inch lures are excellent for dolphin, for all sizes of dolphin. And the bigger ones will eat them. Okay, the bigger ones will eat that bait. Don't think because it's a 5-inch bait or a 4-inch bait that a 40-pound dolphin won't eat it, because it will. Okay, remember, you cut them open and they've got these tiny little crabs and tiny little fish that are literally not even an inch long, a quarter of an inch. Okay, they will eat anything that they possibly can. It is very, very important, especially this time of the year. A lot of big dolphin are caught very much how he said he caught his, off a planer, deep, deep. The water temperature is scorching. Okay, it's 100, feels like it's 100 degrees every day, right? With 200% humidity. Okay, it's that water temperature, super hot, blue skies, bright sun. It's very bright up toward the surface. A lot of times, not a lot of times, always this time of the year, these game fish are going to seek cooler temperatures and a more comfortable surroundings deeper in the water column. So it's imperative that you have a deep bait in your spread. And you can do that a number of ways. You absolutely can do it with a planer or a deep diving plug. If you don't want to go out there with a planer rod and troll planers, just something like this Rapala X-Rap, okay, just a deep diving plug on 50-pound braid, because remember, I'm not going to take this deep diving plug, and we're going to take it out of the package here. I'm not going to take that plug with that big lip right there and pull it off a 20-pound outfit, right? I'm not going to do it. It's just not the right outfit. This creates a lot of tension, a lot of stress on this tackle, and this is not a beefy enough outfit to pull this deep diving plug. So this is what I'm going to pull with that 50-pound braid that I talked about earlier, or just a heavier rod. There's a lot of options in deep diving plugs out there. Like I said, this Rapala X-Rap is one of my favorites, is really the only one that I'll fish. Okay, but there are a lot out there, and if something is working for you, stick with it. But it really doesn't get any easier than this. Put it back there in your trolling spread. It's not science. Don't think that this has to be 102 feet, 0.3 inches behind the boat. Okay, it doesn't. Get it back there. Just get it back there, lock up the reel, and as you're trolling along, of course, that'll dive below the water column. And depending on how fast you're trolling, depending on what type of line and tackle you're pulling this with, it may swim anywhere from 15 to 25 feet below the surface. Okay, if you're trolling very fast, it may only be 5 to 8 feet below the surface. But again, it's below the surface. With a planer, or even, lures with a trolling lead, you may be able to get them, those deeper as well, certainly a planer. But very important, have a deep bait in your trolling spread. Really, really important for those bigger dolphin, okay? A lot of guys, they associate the planers with nearshore fishing for king mackerel, right? We all think about that you've got to have planers if you're fishing for kingfish or trolling for wahoo right on the edge. But how many guys go out trolling for dolphin in 1,000 feet and drag a planer? Okay, good. Few of you guys already are. And have you catching fish on them? Okay, so for those of you that are not, listen to what the guys who are doing it are telling you. Okay, you've got to do it. You've got to get a deeper bait in the water column. Additionally, I'm not going to go into this in great depth, but obviously your drag settings, like I said earlier, your knots and your connections, make sure they're right. Okay, make sure they're right. Another thing, when you hook a big dolphin on the troll or any fish on the troll, as soon as you've got a bunch of people on the boat, you're trolling along, you've got 4 lines, 6 lines, 8 lines. I sometimes fish 10 or 12 lines. Okay, fish as many as you can handle, as many as you can manage without a giant tangle. Because I don't care who you think you are, if you think you're going to go out there and line up 12 lines behind a boat and fish 12 rods as you're trolling along, and you're going to go offshore and do figure eights, what's going to happen? Okay, you're going to be spending the entire day untangling all your lines, right? So you're not even going to have any quality fishing time. So in turn, scale it back. Only fish as many as you possibly can manage properly. And sometimes that might only be 3 or 4 rods. There's a lot of guys with like 18-foot Mako center consoles or, different boats like that that don't have outriggers, and they'll troll 3 lines or 4 lines and still achieve success. Don't think you have to have 12. I'd rather have 4 that are swimming properly, tracking properly, and working properly than 12 that I'm untangling all day long, okay? Make sure one of them is deep, like I said, no matter what, and obviously have some ballyhoo islanders in the mix as well. When you hook a fish, what's the first thing everybody wants to do? You're trolling along, you hook a fish, the reel starts singing the sweet sound of the clicker going, singing. You're like, woo, and you pull that throttle back. That's what everybody does. Don't touch the throttle. Just don't, then you get slapped, is that what he said? Whack, what are you doing, dude? All right. Just don't touch the throttle. Just keep going. You're not going to run out of line. You've got 400 yards of line on your reel. Oftentimes, you'll turn that one bite into a second bite and sometimes into a third bite. Even more, sometimes you'll get completely covered up. So get the bite, let the fish scream line, and give it a count. 1, 2, 3, and you got to hold your hand back, right? Because you're fighting that urge. 4, a 5-second count, 5 to 8 seconds, something like that. If you don't get another fish on in 5 to 8 seconds, fine. Pull the throttle back. Start to focus on fighting the fish that you're hooked up to. If it is your average 5 to 20 pound fish, which you're going to know, right? You're going to know pretty quickly, because what's the first thing dolphin do? They jump. Okay, and you're going to know, you're going to look out there, and sometimes you may be off. Sometimes you'll look at, it doesn't look that big, and you thought he might have been 8 to 10 pounds, and it ends up being 15 to 20, But you're in that realm. You're not going to look out there and go, oh, he's 5 pounds, and it's 50. Okay, that's not going to happen. So anyhow, you hook a fish, and if he's that average size, keep the boat moving forward. Okay, keep the boat moving forward. Do not put the engines in neutral. Keep your other lines out. They are going to sink. They're going to sink. That fish is going to stay up toward the surface. You can fight that fish, bring it into the boat, and then obviously when you push that throttle forward, your lures and baits will come back up in the water column. You sometimes will hook up again right there, and you can resume fishing, and you can get right back in the game. If you hook a big fish, especially, trophy class, the one that you've been waiting for, I would suggest bringing everything else back in. Focus on that fish, because that's not going to happen every day, and I don't want to lose a 35, 40, 45 pound dolphin because he got tangled with Carlos's line who wasn't paying attention, okay?
Blame it on Carl.
That's right. Okay, who wasn't paying attention, and you just lost this. Anybody ever lose a line, lose a nice quality fish? Well, we'll make it a general question. Anybody ever lose a fish? Right? I mean, come on, it happens. So when you're in that scenario and you finally hook that really nice trophy fish, you've got to lean the odds in your favor. Okay, lean the odds in your favor. Clear the deck. Okay, especially if you know it's that big fish right there. Clear the deck. You're in a moving boat. If you have to chase them, you certainly can. Not that you really should have to, but you can. And slow down. You just hooked a 40-pound dolphin. That doesn't happen every day. Okay, how many people have caught a 40-pound dolphin in the year 2018? Okay, you go, girl. Okay, 1, and it's a girl. All right, take that. Anyhow, okay, 1 out of all of us. So these things don't happen every day. So slow down. Slow down. You are not going to stop a 40-pound dolphin on his first run. Okay, you're not going to say, I don't care how much drag you put on this fish, you're not going to stop it on its first run. Let him go. You're not going to run out of line. Your drag is set properly. You're confident in your knots. You're confident in your connections. And you're confident in your fish fighting skills. If you're one of those people that are fighting fish like this, okay, I don't want to say you suck. I mean, that's a little harsh. If you're fighting fish like this, you suck, okay? But not like that, okay? So in turn, like I said, you're confident in your fish fighting skills, you're confident in your tackle, you've got plenty of line, let the fish go, clear the deck, you know, whoever else is on the boat, have them clear the deck so you could start to focus on landing this absolutely gorgeous fish that you're hooked up to. Keep the boat, again, it's rare when you're hooked up to a giant fish like that that you just want to put the boat in neutral. Okay, you can keep the boat moving forward. Even if you have a multiple engine boat, keep one of them in gear if you have to, but keep the boat moving forward because you don't want any slack line at all. Slack line is deadly, right? Deadly to us. We know what's going to happen with slack line. That big dolphin could easily shake that hook out. So we want that line tight. Okay, and by keeping the boat moving forward, it's helping us keep that line really tight because a lot of times the dolphin will charge in the same direction the boat's moving. And if you're just in neutral sitting there and that dolphin charges up, you know, you could eventually have a big bow of line in the water and a lot of slack. And slack is deadly to anglers. Okay, so keep the boat moving forward, relax, take your time, and understand that a 40-pound dolphin on this sort of tackle is going to take you at least 30 to 45 minutes. Okay, you're not going to land that fish in 5 minutes. It's not going to happen. Also understand as that fish gets closer to the boat, it gets riskier and riskier and riskier. Why? Because monofilament is very elastic. It's like a giant rubber band. We've talked about this before many times. So if you've got a big dolphin that's 100 feet out away from the boat, there's a lot of give between you and the fish, right? It's like a giant rubber band. The fish can jump, okay? It can scream off on runs. It can dive, come back up to the top. There's a lot of give, you know, a lot of insurance or leeway, flexibility, whatever you want to call it. When that fish is 5 feet from the boat, you don't have any of that, okay? So you better back that drag off. Okay, the closer the fish gets to the boat, the less leeway and flexibility you have, the less insurance you have. And don't think that that dolphin is going to give up. You know, you ever see a dolphin swimming right up alongside the boat? He's hooked. He looks like he's done, about to be gaffed. He's like, kill me. Okay, and then suddenly just takes off, right, on another run or jumps. You know, it can happen right to the last second. So when that fish is close to the boat, back off on the drag a little bit. Give yourself a little bit of insurance, okay? Don't go into free spool, okay? But back off a little bit on the drag, okay? Keep the boat moving forward and relax. You just fought that fish for, you know, no less than 30 minutes. You're all excited because you're all looking in the water and you see this giant dolphin that you've been waiting for forever. And you're super excited, but don't screw it up. Okay, slow down, do everything right, and you'll be able to land that fish. When you are going in for a gaff shot, don't gaff the dolphin in the tail, okay? Don't gaff a dolphin anywhere near its tail. Gaff a dolphin where? In the head. I say gaff a dolphin in the head. I say gaff a 40-pound dolphin wherever the hell you can, okay? Stick 'em, because you may only get one shot, okay? Don't be that guy that's like, oh, no, wait, no. It's not an 8-pounder, dude. It's 45 pounds. Stick the damn gaff in it. I don't care where. Just gaff them, okay? Tell me I'm wrong, right? Gaff them. And then people like, oh, you know, they'll say, oh, you suck at gaffing. Is the fish in the boat? I would rather have a fish in the boat with a hole right here, okay? Right here, than no fish in the boat, right? So remember what it is that you're doing. Certainly try and do the right thing, obviously, you know, but you may only get one shot. There's so many fish that are lost right there at the boat. They're like within reach. Anybody ever lose a big fish right there? Okay. Okay, I'm not only saying dolphin. We've all lost big fish, right, that were right there. They're like, oh my God, and it hurts so much. Okay, it hurts. Yeah, that's right. You remember that, right? Oh my God, it hurts. It's like somebody sticking a knife in your heart if you're a true angler. Okay, it really hurts that much. So when you have that shot with that gaff, you take it. Okay, you take it. And that's also why a lot of times, like, you know, we have long gaffs, 8-foot gaffs, 9-foot gaffs, of course, depending on your boat. Whatever you do, do not go out there with a hand gaff, okay, and nothing else but a hand gaff. Okay, don't do that, okay? And practice your gaffing. Gaffing is very easy. You know, it's a fundamental of fishing, but there's a couple of really simple points. It's very, very simple. Okay, there's a hook on the end of a stick. The hook needs to be pointed down, like this, not up, like this. So remember that. As you're holding that gaff, that hook needs to be down. That's step one. Step two, never gaff a fish like this, away from the boat. Always gaff a fish in, toward the boat. Always sweep in. So if the hook is down and I'm sweeping in, how hard is it? Okay, it's not that hard. Okay, but then you see these people who, they end up, if you get somebody who goes to gaff a fish and they don't know how to gaff a fish properly, do you ever see them wrap your leader around the gaff, right? That ever happen to anybody? Okay, and you get really shaky and nervous right there because you know that you're going to lose that fish in 2 seconds because the line is wrapped around the tip of the gaff is not in the fish, and the dude is sitting there shaking, freaking out, not knowing what to do, swinging. Okay, and it's just a matter of time before you lose that fish. So again, make sure whoever is gaffing that trophy dolphin knows how to gaff fish. Also remember,
Hey, Mike, and have them take the cap off the...
so if you didn't hear him, he said, you know the little plastic cap on the end of the hook? Have him take that off before he sticks that fish, right?
You've never done that.
Okay. No, but I have trolled lures with the plastic on the hook. Okay. I'm like, damn, we missed another one. I'm like, what, dude? We bring it up. I'm like, I look at my brother. I'm like, dude, they're brand new lures. They got the oh, I didn't see it, because the hook was buried under the feathers, and he didn't realize that. And we're fishing a whole spread of lures with rubber on the hooks. Swear to God, it was awesome. I'm like, what a Guggen move. I mean, crazy. So, but yeah, again, that little plastic thing, obviously, these are obvious things, but they're really, they may be obvious to us or obvious to, a lot of us, but you take guests and friends and family on a boat who are not out there all of the time, they don't know all of these little things, right? They don't know all of these little details about what's involved with offshore fishing. And if you're on a boat with your buddy, with just one buddy from work who's been annoying the hell out of you to take him fishing for 4 years, and finally you're like, you know what? Fine, let's go. Be in my house Sunday at 10. Okay, you're not going to catch anything. It's a Sunday. It's flat calm. There's a million boats out there, but you decide to take them just to shut them up once and for all. And you go out there trolling, and guess what you hook? That 40-pound dolphin. Okay, that's when it's going to happen. And you're not putting that rod in his hand. No way are you putting that rod in his hand. You're like, no way, dude. Okay, right? And then somebody's got to gaff it, right? You got to make a decision. Oh, man. You know what I do?
Put the rod in the rod holder.
No. Give me that gaff. Okay? Give me that gaff. You stay over there. Stay over there. Okay? And I'll do both myself. Okay? I'm telling you, I'll gaff both myself. We were on a recent trip. I'm gaffing a dolphin right between the eyes. My buddy, I'm holding a rod. He's trying to gaff a fish. He missed him 3 times. I'm like, dude, what are you doing? He's like, stop moving. Stop moving. I'm just standing here, So, again, you've got to be careful as to who's doing what, and don't take it for granted. Because those are the days when you're going to get nailed by that one trophy fish. It's going to be on that day. So make sure everybody knows what they're doing, and that they're prepared. When you gaff that fish and you put him in the boat, do not think it's game over. Do not think you're home free. All right? I've witnessed 40, 50-pound dolphin go, foo, foo, foo. Did that just really happen? Okay? In one smooth motion. You're talking about a fish that's so strong, that has that flexibility, and you just stuck a gaff in it, you ruined its day. Okay? He is not happy. But he doesn't know what's going on. He's fighting for its life. Okay? It's a brilliant predator. He's fighting for its life. And he's going to do everything he can do to escape. And he doesn't know, hey, I'm laying on the deck of a Grady White. I got to get over the gunnel. He doesn't know that. All he knows is, I'm not in a good place right now. And I'm going to keep jumping, and one of those jumps could easily go right off the side of the boat. So usually what guys will do is they'll gaff a big dolphin, and there'll be a fish box or a big cooler that's open, and you bring that fish into the fish box or the cooler, get it off the gaff, and if you put him in a big cooler, sit on it. Okay, sit on that cooler, because he has enough power to pop that lid open and jump right back in. And what would really be worse than catching a 50-pound dolphin and watching him go back into the water How do you even tell anybody about that? I would never tell anybody. What'd you catch today, Mike? Nothing. Nothing. Slow.
Really slow.
I'm slow. Nothing. Yeah, oh yeah. I won't even tell you about it right now. Okay? Slow. Okay? So, you know, again, these things happen. You got to be ready for them. You know, I've seen some guys with the fish bats, you know, and they bat these things, and I just think that's cruel. Okay? I'm not a fish bat kind of guy, but certainly some people use that just to put the fish out of commission so it doesn't, you know, jump back in the water. I don't recommend it, but do whatever you want to do. But get it in a fish box or get in a cooler and be careful. And you'll have time to admire your fish and, you know, get those Instagram pictures, right? You'll have time. He's not going anywhere, but if you don't do it the right way, if you take that risk, he may end up going somewhere. I watched this great video one day, not to dwell on this, but these guys caught this big dolphin. They were in a small center console, single outboard. The transom was open, that kind of setup. And they are literally, the fish is in the boat, and three guys are trying to tackle this fish right in between all three of them, right out the back, and that was the end of that. And then they all looked at each other, and it wasn't, you know, it wasn't 50 pounds. It was a big fish, 30 pounds or so, and they lost it because they just didn't do it the right way, okay? Also, be ready for every scenario. On the troll, when you hook that average fish, that 5 to 20 pound fish, okay, you ever reel in a dolphin on the troll and lo and behold, what's behind them? Okay, what's behind them? Even more dolphin. Or sometimes that big one, because if you hook the cow, guess who's coming with her? Okay, sometimes Big Daddy, okay, big old daddy is coming with her to say, hey, where are you going? What's going on here? And if you're not ready to throw a bait or something at that big fish, you know, if you're instantly not ready, that fish could just swim off immediately and be gone. So we always have spinners rigged and ready, okay, for big fish. And it could be a 7-foot spinning rod. In this particular case, a little bit of a shorter rod. The reel's loaded. Again, you can see there's monofilament on the top. It's actually loaded with braid. There's 30-pound braid on the bottom, and there's 100 feet of 50-pound mono on top. VMC 7.0 live bait hook right there. No hardware, no swivels, no additional connections. Small little loop knot, nice beefy hook. Okay, again, a really nice beefy hook because these fish are strong. Don't fish those really weak little freshwater bass hooks, obviously. You know, make sure you've got a beefy hook, something strong, but not too strong because you obviously, you know, today's hooks are thinner and stronger than they've ever been before. They're using different materials, vanadium steel, and they're able to make thinner and stronger hooks than they ever have. But again, just I stress, make sure good quality hooks. If it isn't VMC, there's certainly plenty of other good brands out there. We always have a spinner, but not one spinner. Because guess what happens when you're reeling in a dolphin on the troll and here comes some other dolphin and, ooh, look, there's a 10-pounder, and I throw a bait at that 10-pounder and I'm hooked up to that 10-pounder, and then guess what swims up? The 40, okay? And here I am connected to a 10-pound fish. I don't have any other rods rigged and ready, and I'm certainly not going to cut a 10-pound fish off and reel up my line and tie a hook, and you know that's a recipe for disaster. So always have at least a couple of spinning rods rigged and ready to toss at fish. As far as a bait, like I said, if you get a dolphin that swims up with other fish on the troll, he's fired up. That fish is fired up, you know, he's excited, he's vibrant, he's lit up, there's action, there's things that are going on. He's on the feed, he's not being very picky right there, and then pretty much anything you put in front of him, he's gonna eat. Nothing, in my opinion, beats a whole squid, okay? Frozen, 6 to 8 inch whole squid, hook it right at the top. It is rare that a dolphin will ignore a whole squid, very, very rare. That or ballyhoo, okay, a whole ballyhoo. Certainly any kind of fresh cut bait, and obviously any live bait. If you have a live well on a boat and you have any live bait, may it be pilchards, goggle eyes, blue runners, you know, I don't need to tell you, any live bait is certainly going to get gobbled up in a second. If you don't have any live bait or didn't purchase any live bait, you certainly can catch live bait offshore. All of that stuff that you see swimming around under the weed lines, okay, pull up to a weed line with a sabiki rig. and tip the sabiki rig with tiny little pieces of squid or shrimp, and every single thing under that weed line is going to go whoop, right to the sabiki rig. And all of those little jacks and runners and all those little fish that you see under the weed, guess who's eating those? Okay, that's the best live bait that you can use offshore. That's what the dolphin are eating on a daily basis. So you have a ready supply, and if you want to spend some time catching that bait and having a few baits in your bait well before you go trolling, certainly that's an option. Okay. Chunking. This is another area where certainly not only can you catch quantity, but also quality of dolphin is chunking. You can come up on a weed line. What a really good method is you find a weed line that's very lively. Again, that nice, colorful, vibrant grass, life underneath the grass, okay, little bait fish, shrimp, dip, flying fish. Okay, so really looks optimum. You've got good conditions, good water clarity. Stop the boat right along the weed line. Don't be afraid to kill the motors and let the boat drift right there with the weed, in the weed. Okay, you know what I mean by in the weed? I don't mean next to the weed. Like around, right there. Get right up next to the weed. Obviously not directly in the middle of it because you can't put baits in the water, right? Okay, but close, very close to the weed. And quiet. Kill those motors and start chunking. Okay, any sort of cut bait. And eventually, instead of you going to look for the fish, you're going to wait for them to come to you. And hopefully, they will. And usually, what's the first thing to show up? No, I mean, yes. Small fish, schoolies. Okay, that's usually what shows up first is schoolie dolphin, the schoolies. And remember, have you ever seen a 50-pound dolphin swimming side by side with a 5-pound dolphin? Never. It's never going to happen because he's going to eat the 5-pound dolphin. Okay, they eat their kids. Sometimes I feel like eating my kids, I'm going to tell you. Okay, but you just don't see it. You don't see those big adults with the juveniles. But do not think that those big, large, mature fish are not there. Guess where they may be? Deep. Deep. Okay, they may be dolphin. Those big dolphin are not stupid. They try and get as much of a reward as they can for the least amount of effort. And as all of these, baits are coming through the water column, they're down there deep picking them off, and they're eyeing up. Guess what they're eyeing up?
Their next quarry.
That's right. They're eyeing up all of the smaller dolphin because they eat them too. And when one of them makes a mistake, he may very well go after that and eat the dolphin. Now, I'm not telling you that if you're in a pack of schoolies, a pack of peanuts, these little 15, 18, 20, 22-inch dolphin, I'm not telling you that you should take one of those and put it on a hook and drop it down, okay? Because it's illegal to fish a dolphin that's less than 20 inches. So I'm not telling you to do that. Okay? So now we'll move right along. Blue runners, like I said, also an excellent bait. Okay, anything live, but they will also eat the cut bait. Okay, they'll also eat the cut bait. I believe, though, like we said earlier, all of the large dolphin, or certainly the vast majority of large dolphin, are caught on the troll. Because that's what guys are out there doing. And I mentioned it earlier when I said increase your trolling speed. Well, if you're fishing naked ballyhoo that have no skirts, no lures, you're flagged. If you're fishing naked ballyhoo, okay, you can't troll at 10 knots because what's going to happen to the ballyhoo? They get all washed out and mushy. You're trolling too fast. You can't troll that fast. So, but if you're fishing a spread of lures, okay, with maybe a couple of ballyhoo mixed in underneath some islanders, you can troll 10 knots all day long. All day long. You're not going to outrun a dolphin. Don't think that dolphin's going to look at a bait going, it's going too fast. I'm not going to exert the energy. It's going too fast. I'm not going to do it. If it was going a little slower, I would eat it. But that fast, I'm not going to eat it. That's not going to happen. You're not going to outrun that fish by any means. So I encourage you to increase your trolling speed in order to cover more ground because we know that these bigger fish are rare. They're not everywhere. So I want to cover as much ground as I can in my search for this one or two really big quality size fish. I may want to fish further offshore where there's less pressure. On a Saturday, Do you know how many boats are trolling for dolphin out here on Saturday, this Saturday morning, especially with the way the bite's been, because fishing has been hot. Dolphin fishing is on fire right now, up and down the whole line, all the way from Key West all the way up here, okay, and even further north. Everybody and their mother is going to be out here this weekend, especially with the forecast. I think it's supposed to be flat again all weekend. So that first 10 miles is just going to be so pounded. And not to say that you can't catch fish there, you certainly can. The quantity, are you going to catch the quality there? You know, some yo-yo might, okay, but it's not likely. So get yourself away from there, run further offshore, you know, further offshore where there's less pressure and you're more likely to catch those bigger fish. Do some homework, check out some satellite sea surface temperature charts. There may be temperature breaks out there. There may be eddies that you can recognize with different currents, because again, these dolphin, they rely on current. They rely on the current to help them swim, to move them through the water column, to congregate bait and food. You ever, you know, find yourself in a scenario, there's days when we're out here and not offshore, because there's always current in the Gulf Stream, right? If you ever go to the Gulf Stream and there's no current, call me, because we're gonna die. Okay, something's wrong. Okay, the world's coming to an end. I don't know what it is, but something's wrong. So there's always current offshore, but sometimes closer to shore, there is no current and there's no wind, and you're just literally sitting in one spot. You know, the boat's just sitting there. You're not even moving. How often is it that you're going to see big quality dolphin in that scenario? Very, very little. Okay, very, very little. So you've got to find those optimum conditions. The clean water, the presence of bait, the presence of other dolphin is certainly a key indicator, right? Is certainly a key indicator that there could be bigger dolphin there. And the secret, you know, as I mentioned earlier when I said there are no secrets, really there is a secret. The secret to catching a big dolphin is A, finding them, putting in the time, because if you think you're just going to wake up one morning and go, hey, I'm just going to go dolphin fishing today and catch a 50-pounder. No, you got to put in your time, pal. You got to earn that right for that fish, because they're so rare. You know, you really have to put in your time. But you've got to be ready. You have to be ready in every scenario, because you don't know if that big fish is going to come on the troll. You don't know if that big fish is going to come as you're reeling in another fish and he follows it up. Or maybe you're chunking and catching smaller fish, and suddenly here comes this big bowling cow because they were attracted by all of the attention. You guys know what I mean. You're catching 5, 10-pound fish, 15-pound fish, and suddenly here's this one you've been waiting for. This one big one just shows up. And if you're not ready right at that time, you're going to lose that opportunity at that fish. So that's the secret. And then when you hook one, it's slowing down and taking your time. Okay, and realizing that you're hooked to a marvelous fish, a trophy fish, and if you don't react properly, he's going to win. He's going to win. He's not dumb. He's strong. Okay, they turn sideways. They're very, very, very strong, aren't they? I mean, it's one of the greatest fish because of how strong they are. And of course, because they can jump. And when they jump, that line comes tight. And if that hook is not really embedded in there, or if there's slack line, disaster can happen at any time. So the secret is being ready. It's not about a secret sauce. You know, I was at ICAST yesterday. For those of you unfamiliar with ICAST, it is the largest fishing show in the country. Everybody who is anybody related to the fishing industry is at the ICAST show. It was yesterday, today, tomorrow. It goes through the end of the week here. It is not open to the general public. It's an industry-only show. Media, buyers, etc. Marshall, who owns this tackle shop, is at ICAST, because this is where they make all their deals and all of that good stuff. Throughout ICAST, every lure maker is there, and there's probably 152,000 different lures on display. And there is not one magic lure that anyone came up with that said, right here, this is going to catch 50-pound dolphin. I promise you, this is it, right here. This is the magic secret lure. Because if somebody had that, you'd pay who knows how much money for it. You'd pay anything for that one lure, right? If you knew that it's not out there. It doesn't exist, okay? It doesn't exist. Well, first of all, most lures are created to catch you, not fish. Anyway, you guys know that, right? Okay? You know, the pretty ones, you know. How many ways can you paint the lure to look like a fish? You know, it's incredible. But anyhows, there's not one magic lure out there. There isn't. That's not what catching big dolphin is about. And here we're not in the Keys. We're not in the Keys. In the Keys, there's a lot of big dolphin caught because they get first shot at them before we get to them. These fish are not moving this way. They're not migrating south along our coast. They're migrating north. They migrate south when they are hundreds or 1,000 miles offshore, well on the other side of the Bahamas. That's where they're moving south on a daily basis. Here they're moving north up our coast. So the guys down in the Keys have first shot at them, and they catch a lot of the bigger fish first before we even see them. And then you'll see bigger fish in Miami. But how many true 50-pound dolphin do you see come in Hillsborough Inlet every year? Not a lot. Okay, not a lot. So when you do get that chance, you better make the most of it, because we're in that one little area where there's so much pressure, you know, and so many boats and so many things against us, that if we don't do everything we can do in our power to catch that one fish when we have that chance, like I said, we're going to lose. So think about that next time you go out. Make sure that you're rigged properly. Remember the fundamentals. Okay, that is absolutely crucial. The fundamentals, the drag settings, the line, the knots, the leader. Anybody ever lose a fish because of a wrong drag setting? Anybody ever lose a fish because a bad knot? Anybody ever lose a fish because of a bad knot? Anybody ever lose a fish because of a bad knot? We all have, okay? Take your time. If it doesn't look right, it isn't right. And don't think that it has to be fancy schmancy. You know what not the best knot, but the most common knot is called an improved clinch knot. An improved clinch knot. I caught an 824-pound giant bluefin tuna on an improved clinch knot that I tied to the hook, that the entire 3.5-hour battle, I was scared out of my wits that my knot was going to come undone, and that we were going to lose this fish because of my knot. Scared the whole time. Okay, when we landed it, I was so happy. Not that we caught the fish, that my knot held up. Okay, literally. But after that day, I said to myself, that is the most reliable knot, and it's so easy to tie. So don't think you need to know all of these fancy schmancy kind of knots, you know. No, learn the basic ones first, but make sure that you've got them right. Make sure that you can do them with your eyes closed on a rocking boat with one hand tied behind your back, blindfolded. When you get that knot right, then talk to me about tying a bimini twist. Okay, before, you know, first get the basics done right, because you don't have to have all of these super duper fancy stuff, especially when you're offshore trolling for dolphin. Have we all been offshore trolling for dolphin? You put some lines out, you drag some stuff through the water. That's really all it is. You know, I mean, yeah, there's more to it, but that's really all it is. You know, your patterns, when we talk about trolling spreads and patterns, birds and fish swim and fly in patterns to break up the resistance. You know, when you see geese flying in a V formation, they rotate who's the guy in the front of the pile, right? Who's the guy up front is constantly being rotated because he's the one that's breaking up all of that resistance. And it's the same with bait fish. They swim in patterns and safety in numbers. So you want your trolling spread to have a uniform pattern. Am I going to tell you, are you going to say, well, should my lure be on the 3rd wake or 4th wake? Well, I'm going to say to you, I don't know. Is your boat a single outboard, twin, triple, quads? Maybe you have 5 outboards, because there are boats out there with 5 outboards now. Anybody own a boat with 5 outboards? Thank God, because those guys are yo-yos, man. But anyhows, okay? Is it a sport fish? Is it a, you know, is it an express? What kind of white water do you have? What speed are you trolling at? There's so many different variables that there's not one answer that lure needs to be at that spot. You know, it's about uniformity, okay, and it's about controllability, making sure, like I said, that you can control your whole spread. Don't think that you can't fish baits close to the boat, that everything has to be hundreds of yards out there. No, it doesn't. Dolphin will swim, they'll come up and hit a lure 10, 20 feet right behind the boat. They'll crush it right in the whitewater. Don't think that all that whitewater, that you can't have any lures or baits in the whitewater because the fish won't see them in the whitewater. Of course they will. That whitewater and those bubbles is just on the surface. Inches below that, that water is clear, perfectly clear. Dolphin have no problem finding, those baits in that white water. It's certainly important to have baits running in the clean lines too, in the clean water. So again, you want to maximize your spread. You want to think about where everything is in the trolling spread. You don't want to fish one bait that's this big in blue and then troll another lure that's this big in pink. Why? Because a bait that's this big is not going to swim with a bait that's this big. You're trying to mimic a school of bait fish. That's what you're doing when you're trolling. Think about this. You're trying to mimic a school of bait fish in a feeding scenario. The larger baits that are closer to the boat appear to be bonitas or skipjacks or tunas in that white water. Right there, right in that white water, close to the back of the boat, feeding on those baits. And then the baits that are dragging behind are the weak and wounded. And which one is the dolphin going to eat? The weak and wounded. Okay, so certainly there has to be a pattern there. We talked about the trolling. We talked about the fact that these fish are available year-round in a wide area. So it is absolutely impossible for me or anyone else to stand up here and say to you, if you want to catch that 50-pounder, this is where you need to go, and this is what's going to happen, because it is not true. And even if somebody today caught 5 50-pound fish in one spot, the first thing everybody would do would be go right there tomorrow morning, right? And where'd you catch them? 250 feet off the Deerfield Pier. That's where I'm starting. Dude, that was 24 hours ago. The fish are 100 miles away from there. Plus, I always say to people, you can't catch fish that have already been caught. Can you catch fish that have already been caught? They've already been caught. Fishing reports are nice. They're important. It's good intel. But just use it as intel. Don't let it rule your day. And don't fish by the radio. You ever get out there? I know you have. Hey, looking for a dolphin report? Yeah, I'm coming out of Boca. What are you guys catching? And you'll hear the radio silent. Right? You don't hear, don't fish by the radio. And then you hear some guy go, oh, I wrecked them. I'm in 800 feet and I've got blah. And suddenly everybody goes to 800 feet. What? You don't even know what they're saying or who they are. You know what I'm saying? Be careful. Don't get roped into that whole radio world. It's nice, I like to monitor the VHF, to listen to what's going on. I usually listen to the charter boats, their chatter back and forth, because they're legit. They know what they're talking about. Not some guy, this is his first time, he's been out in 3 months, and he wants the whole world to give him an exact report. And people say, he's like, where's the fish? And you hear some guy go, Publix, or whatever, right? You all hear that kind of funny stuff out there. So it's humorous to listen to, but don't, especially when you're dolphin fishing, it's more important not to hear where the fish are being caught, but what I want to know is where they're not being caught, okay? Because then, hey, I'm in 500 feet, I don't see any weed, there's no grass, there's no bait. That tells me I don't think I want to be fishing in 500 feet, right? If none of the key factors that I'm looking for are there, okay? I may not want to fish there. So with that being said, I'm going to wrap it up here. It's getting late, but like I said, I really wanted to point out that the key factor here for big dolphin is you. It's not the fish, it's what you're doing, it's your preparation, and it's your execution out on the water is going to allow you to capitalize on that one opportunity that you may get all year. Because like we said before, how many people, I see it, just 1 second, how many people are or have caught that 40 to 50 pound dolphin this year, and only one person said they have, and they didn't catch it here out front, because I know where she caught it. Okay, I'm on to you. Okay, nevertheless, on the chunking side, we all know about that too. Be ready, be ready for anything. Also, one other thing I want to mention that I didn't touch on, when you are trolling, it's always a good idea to have either a dredge or some sort of teaser in the water, because remember what I said, dolphin are attracted to movement. They like movement. So it could be something like this, like an umbrella rig type of mullet dredge with artificial mullet, or the most popular is what's called a squid chain. This is nothing more than artificial squid. They're made by a variety of companies. This one happens to be from Boone. Moldcraft is probably the most famous squid chain out there, and it's 5 or 6 rubber squids, okay, that you drag behind a boat, and it just attracts a lot more attention. It really creates more of a feeding scenario. At the bottom, at the conclusion of that daisy chain, and that's what we call these, daisy chains. At the conclusion of it is a snap swivel. So you can attach a hooked bait. You can pop open this snap swivel and you can put a hooked ballyhoo behind this chain if you would like, or you can just fish it as a teaser, as a standalone teaser, you know, not trying to hook fish with it, but trying to attract fish to the boat with it, okay? And again, there are a lot of different options when it comes to dredges. Your question there, I think you had a question? Yeah.
Where do you put the squid in your spread? Is that right behind the boat in the wet boat?
His question is, where do you put the squid in your spread? Are you talking about the daisy chain, correct? I put them right off the corners. If you have outriggers with multiple clips, you can put them on your short clips closer to the boat. They absolutely do not have to be far. You always want your teasers as close to the boat as possible. Okay, you don't want your teasers way out there. You want your teasers to be the closest baits to the boat. Speaking of which, when you set your trolling spread, remember to set your furthest baits first and work your way in toward the boat, okay? Yes?
That being said, can you talk about the difference of trolling with upstream or downstream as far as...
Yes. So his question is, can you touch on trolling upstream or downstream? And that's an important factor. Remember again, offshore, that we have the Gulf Stream. The water is moving at 3 to 5 miles an hour, constantly, 3 to 5 miles an hour, sometimes more. Okay, but generally 3 to 5 miles an hour. If you stop the boat, you're moving this fast, okay, without even realizing it. So when you are trolling north, okay, with the Gulf Stream, or I should say this way, in this orientation where we are here, we're obviously going to be trolling at 3 to 5 miles an hour faster than when we turn the boat around and when we head south. And there are certainly going to be days when you get bites, more bites going north or more bites going south. Okay? But you have to make adjustments, because if I'm fishing a spread and I want to troll at 10 knots and I'm trolling 10 knots this way and then I turn around, how fast am I going?
14.
Well, the other way around. If I turn around and go south, I may only now be going 5 knots. Okay? And if you're trolling at, a lot of guys will troll at 6 knots. They believe that 6 is the magic number. Okay? And you're trolling north at 6 knots and then you turn around, you're sitting in one spot. You're practically sitting in one spot. It doesn't feel like it, doesn't look like it. You think you're trolling. You think you're covering a lot of ground. I mean, you are trolling, but you think you're covering a lot of ground, but you're not, because you're dodging that current. You're going right into it, and you're literally sitting in one spot. And remember, when you are trying to find these fish, you're covering a large area trying to find these fish, you've got to push that throttle up a little bit to compensate for that. It is not a set it and forget it scenario when it comes to trolling speed. It all depends on the conditions. The calmer it is, the faster you can troll. The bumpier and rougher it is, the slower you control. You want your baits and your lures to come up to the surface and to breathe. You want them to come up, to pop, then they go below the surface. All that air dissipates. We call that smoke that's coming off the lure. Okay, and then once all that air is gone, that lure or the bait will come back up to the top and take another breath. It'll breathe. You guys know what I'm talking about, obviously, with your lures skipping on the surface. That's a good thing. If your lures, because it also mimics what? Flying fish, right? It's perfect. Looks just like a flying fish. If you don't ever see your baits, if you're looking back there going, nope, I don't see them. I don't know. We got baits back there? I don't see nothing. Okay, you're following your lines back there, and I don't see nothing. You're not going fast enough. You're not going fast enough, okay? You're not. You're not going to outrun the fish. There's no one magic speed. As I mentioned earlier, it all depends on your boat and it depends on the conditions, okay? And you've got to modify your approach, you know, to make sure that you're presenting your spread as best as possible. I'm going to just answer a couple more questions and then we're going to wrap this up. We'll do our raffle and then I'll address any other questions. Yes? Absolutely 100% not. His question was about planer fishing when you're offshore trolling for dolphin. Do you only fish the planer when there are nice big mats of weed, you know, well-formed mats? The answer is no. Put that planer down the whole time. Okay, whenever you're off there trolling, fish that planer, 100%. There's gonna be times where it becomes a pain in the butt. I'm gonna tell you right now. Whether, right? Like right now, there's a lot of grass out there. And let me tell you, cranking that planer, okay, first of all, put that baby on a 2-speed reel. That's number one. Okay, and you're by yourself, don't fish a planer. Okay, just don't. I mean, I'm not discouraging you from fishing a planer, but by yourself, that's a lot to handle. You know, you could get a couple other fish on at the same time, the grass, you know, you're reeling this up, and you want to keep that boat moving forward when you're setting the planer. You know, it could be a dangerous situation. So I don't recommend it if you're by yourself unless you're really capable of handling it. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not suggesting you're not. I'm saying whoever is doing it. What's that?
I'm just asking if there's a better way.
Well, absolutely.
To do it by yourself.
Fish a deep diving plug. Okay, put that right down the middle behind the boat. So now you do have a deep bait. You don't have to worry about the planer. You don't have to worry about the long leader coming off the planer. And you still have a deep bait in your spread. Okay, for sure.
Change out those
I-
hooks?
So, one second. So his question was, is a downrigger okay? Absolutely. You could use a downrigger is for more than just slow trolling live baits. You could use a downrigger to get a bait deeper in the water column. It can become challenging at 10 knots because you're going a little bit fast. You're going to have a lot of blowback, the line coming back. You know, so I don't really recommend it in that 10-knot scenario because that isn't what downriggers were designed for. They were really designed for the 1 to 5 knots, you know, for slow trolling. But you could do it. You could. If you had a heavy enough weight, certainly you can do it. Try a Z-wing instead of the lead ball. That makes it a little bit easier.
What number planer?
Depends on how deep you want to get it. His question was what number planer. Remember that planers are not rated by the size of the plate. They're rated by the size of the lead. So a number 8 planer and a number 6 planer could be identical in appearance with the same size plate, but one has a slightly heavier sinker. If I'm only going to fish one planer, it's going to be a 6 or an 8. If I'm going to fish 2, they're going to be 2 different sizes, a 3 or 4 and a 6 or 8. You know, because I want to keep them at 2 different levels in the water column. But if I'm only going to fish one, go with a 6 or an 8. But remember that you're going to need the right tackle to handle an 8, a number 6 or an 8 planer because it's going to put a tremendous amount of stress on that rod. Okay? And make sure you have through-bolted rod holders. That's excellent. Last question.
Did I understand you right? When I'm setting up my spread, I put my smaller baits far?
Okay, so his question is when setting the spread. So the first thing I mentioned is put your furthest baits first. Okay, your furthest baits. So whatever you're fishing way out there, put those first. Okay, then work your way back toward the boat. That's first and foremost. Number 2, remember the feeding scenario that you're trying to mimic. A fish is down there, I'm trolling along, they're looking up, they go, oh, there's a nice 39 CV, or there's a nice, they don't know that. They obviously see a big blob. That blob mimics a bait ball. Okay, the bottom of your boat looks like a giant school of bait tightly packed together. The white water from the propellers is creating the illusion of a feeding scenario, a fish attacking the bait fish that are creating this bait ball. So your large baits like the ballyhoo islanders or large teasers or large lures, keep those closer to the boat because that's where that feeding scenario is unfolding. And then the weak and the wounded baits are behind those. So then I will fish the smaller baits behind them.